you huckleberry.
What they say, see a broad to get that booty act 'em, leg her down or smack.
Be honest, Gambit. I've never had an ounce of respect for you.
Time for that.
Somebody just walked over your grave.
understand.
Cuddy say can't hang.
Oh, stewardess, I speak jive.
Oh, good.
He said that he's in great pain and he wants to know if you can help him.
All right. Would you tell him to just relax and I'll be back as soon as I can with some medicine?
Just hang loose, blood. She's gonna catch up on the rebound on the med side.
What it is, Big Mama? My mama raised no dummies. I duck her rap.
Cut me some slack, Jack.
Yo, peace, power, prosperity. Yo, we're shaking tonight. Why am I echoing? It's always something, though. Yo, I shouldn't have any echo, but here we go with the bullshit. Yo, 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 yo. All right, here we go. I don't even know why that thing even started working. Peace, power, prosperity to the village gang. Y'all know how we do when we get up in here from the crown to the ground. You know how we get down. Yo. Hope everybody's having a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful hump day. And as usual, after you hump for the man, make sure you hump for that lady. You heard me? Get up. I got sound on though. Give me a one if I got sound. Check, check. I don't think I got sound. Okay. So it's something going on, dog. There's never not nothing. But y'all know how he does it, man. Welcome to the town square once again. All is clean and all is love and all is fear. Have no fear because your family and friends are up in here. Ladies, kick up your feet, relax, have some wine. Don't let down your head, Jenna Rose. Y'all know what to do with shots and beers. Yo. All right, cool. I feel like that's better. That's booming. Quick start today because still got to finish up Sleepy Joe, and we got to talk about these fires in LA. So without further ado, we're rolling in. Shout out to all the supporters. Shout out to everybody that clicked the button when they hit the room, right? Shout out to everybody that share and subscribed and liked and send love and support, especially the people that go the extra mile and open up their wallets. You heard? Why are you using that? Got it. Rolling in, about to talk about Joe. As usual, finishing up the Joe segment. We'll be done with him. Next one will be Barack Obama. On why these Dems seem to keep disrespecting blacks, and blacks keep following them into this land of whatever the fuck you want to call it, the land of nothingness, the land of zero. Banners rolling, media is firing, but for y'all, I think y'all about that life and be living in the shadows. You gotta remember this all the time when you come over here.
You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it.
And we rolling, dog. This is more about Joe and his corruption.
Joe Biden established himself as a very flexible politician when it came to his positions on important issues. His lack of honesty and political integrity were established early in his career, as was his willingness to use his office for personal gain and vengeance. However, despite Biden's long track record of failures, to be fair, he did have a few brief moments of diplomatic brilliance, where he actually did his job on behalf of the nation, if not the world in general. What were some of Biden's successes in the Senate? How did he transform from a war hawk to a passive belt, and why? What professional and personal decisions did he make that harmed the nation? How did scandal begin to plague his career?
Hello, I'm Colin Heaton, military veteran, historian, author, and welcome to this episode of Forgotten History.
Big salute to you, G.
Before the start of the Yugoslav Civil War, as tensions were increasing, Biden held a tense 3-hour meeting with Serbian leader Slobodan Milosevic in April 1993. Again, to his credit, Biden worked on several versions of legislative language urging the U.S. toward greater involvement. Biden has rightly considered his role in the Balkans crisis as his proudest moment in public life regarding foreign policy. In 1999, during the Kosovo War, Biden supported the 1999 NATO bombings, and he, with Senator John McCain, co-sponsored the McCain-Biden-Kosovo resolution, which called on Clinton to use all necessary force, including ground troops, to confront Milosevic over Yugoslav actions toward ethnic Albanians in Kosovo. Biden was also a strong supporter of the war in Afghanistan, saying, "Whatever it takes, we should do it." As head of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, he said in 2002 that Iraqi President Saddam Hussein was a threat to national security, and there was no other option than to eliminate that threat. In October 2002, as one of the most vocal hawks on Capitol Hill, he voted in favor of the authorization for use of military force against Iraq, approving the U.S. and coalition force invasion. By late 2006, Biden's stance had completely reversed, and he changed his previous opinions. He opposed the troop surge of 2007, saying that General David Petraeus was dead flat wrong in believing the surge could work, and Biden was wrong. The surge worked. Instead, Biden believing that dividing Iraq into 3 separate states, separating the factions, was a great idea, giving Kurds, Shiites, and Sunnis their own regions. Unfortunately, he failed to consult with Iran, Turkey, and Iraq. In September 2007, a non-binding resolution endorsing the plan passed the Senate, but the idea failed to gain traction in the House of Representatives. To Biden's great credit, he did call for American intervention to end the genocide in Darfur, but he also spoke out against President George W. Bush's handling of the Iraq War, claiming that he had been opposed all along. Others, like John Kerry and Hillary Clinton, also altered their previous positions, even claiming they never supported the war. During the 2000s, Biden sponsored bankruptcy legislation sought by credit card issuers, and this made sense, as Biden was a major benefactor from the banks issuing those cards, most based in Delaware. They donated to his campaigns. Clinton had vetoed the bill in 2000, but it passed in 2005 during the George W. Bush administration as the Bankruptcy Abuse Prevention and Consumer Protection Act, with Biden being one of only 18 Democrats to vote for it, while leading Democrats and consumer rights organizations opposed it. This would set in motion the financial meltdown in 2007 and 2008. Biden also strongly supported increasing Amtrak funding by taxpayers because that program never made a profit, and like the U.S. Postal Service, was always in the red. He opposed privatizing Amtrak, which would have made sense as the private sector always manages a business better than the federal government. In 2007, Biden decided to run for the U.S. presidency again.
That right there, I believe, is one of the main reasons why people voted for Trump in the first run, right? Besides him being so anti-establishment, so pro-people, so anti-deep state and anti-corruption. Also being a person that also had his own bread, that didn't receive his bread or earn his bread or real estate or his profits from that system, right? I believe that's why people voted for Trump and was so heavy about Trump, because he was the exact opposite. And the reason why I say this is this. When Barack went against Baby Bush, right? His first slogan was about change. Now, when you say the word change, and we're not talking about money, we're talking about changing something. I think subconsciously we look at things to be opposed diametrically. So let's look at two quick points that we could visually identify as a change. One would be political party, right? The right to the left. The second super visual thing that we can attach ourselves to and our brain could comprehend immediately was the phenotype of both individuals. One was tall and dark, well spoken, spoke like a refined Mississippi pimp. The other one sometimes struggled to put sentence together and was short and white. Right? So looking at those two things diametrically opposed, that's a direct change. So I've always remembered when he was doing this and he was running on his speech, and that was his campaign thing. Change, I think it was change we could believe in, or change. Yeah, I think it was like change we can believe in. The word change itself automatically was like a let's say a sore thumb word, right? It stuck out. It's something that just stuck out there. And when you heard change, and when you saw the differences in between them, I believe that's what bolstered Barack to that level. And I'm saying this in the mindset of elections not being rigged, everything being clean, your votes count, your votes matter, et cetera, et cetera. I could see those two things right there completely existing. As the same way when Trump came in, he was so diametrically opposed in conversation and in speech, and now he went at everybody else. He went at everybody else like he was their enemy. So that comes across to the viewer and the listener as like, okay, this is another change, right? This is something that's going to be, it's something going to fix the issues that we're having, because he has no ties to it. When he obviously he has ties. There's no way he's being that person and doing what he done. He has ties to politics, but he's not a politician by, let's say, profession. He's that professional politician, right? But because he was a businessman and people wanted to get out of debt, and all the poor were saying, no, let's fix this. Because you know how to run a business, you should know how to run a country, and you'll be good for the country's business. If that makes sense to y'all. But don't, go read a book. I'm fucking with you. You hit change and you think better automatically, and that wasn't it. Good point. I'm not mad at that point at all. I'm not mad at that point at all, Jay. That's a good point.
But Biden's campaign could not compete in the primary challenges against the name recognition and momentum.
It's like a subcontext, right? It's like a subcontext, because when you're dealing with things that you're unhappy with, when you hear change, you think the results would bring forth happy. What is going on here today? you would think that the change in it would be not being able to buy a loaf of bread to being able to buy a loaf of bread. Not being able to gas your car to being able to gas your car. Not being able to send your kid to a better school to be able to send your kid to a better school. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a good point.
Fellow Senators Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, and after receiving less than 1% of the vote in the crucial Iowa caucuses, Biden dropped out of the race. Biden was selected by Obama to be his vice presidential running mate, as it was believed that he could help the Obama campaign communicate its message of economic recovery to the blue-collar voters crucial to swing states like Ohio and Pennsylvania. On November 2, 2008, the Obama and Biden ticket defeated Republicans Arizona Senator John McCain and Alaska Governor Sarah Palin. On January 20th,
Hold on. Hold on. Wait. Something's wrong. We already watched this. I'm almost positive we already watched this one yesterday. Why is it back up here? Dog, we already watched it. My bad. I know for a fact we already watched that. Part 4. I don't even watch 3 parts yesterday. There we go. What in the fuck is going on, dog? Yo, everything is tripping right now on my end. What the fuck is this shit? Give me 1 second, dog. I have no clue what the fuck is going on. Things are just happening right now. Things I didn't even touch is happening right now. So closing this. That just made no fucking sense. Just now what the fuck is happening. I'm loading up the third one right now. Give me 1 second. Bear with me. Why are you doing? Close you down. What the fuck is going on? No, everything is on the fritz right now. Every single fucking thing. It just did it again. I didn't fucking. Didn't actually do any of that. You get on my nerves. Moving on. We push. Something's definitely wrong. And I just did upgrade, so I don't understand.
He decided to use his executive orders to destroy the nation's economy and security to appease the far-left progressives who hated Trump and yet benefited from his successes. How much damage did Biden do with his executive orders? What did he do to undermine our national and economic security? How did he make the United States a weaker nation on the world stage? What was the result of his actions domestically and internationally?
Heaton, military veteran, historian, author, and welcome to this episode of Forgotten History.
From day one, President Biden got busy immediately. He revoked the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline and kept a campaign promise to destroy the fossil fuel industry after Trump had made the country not only energy independent, but the world's largest exporter of oil and natural gas, which explained the great economy and low energy prices, food prices, and transportation prices. In fact, Russia could not compete with our volume, quality, and quantity, as well as our selling prices to Europe, which brought the economy down hard for Russia. The Arab Gulf states were also suffering from the price of their crude dropping along with demand, as we did not need their oil. Biden was at least smart enough not to revoke the ban on Iranian oil exports, which under Trump almost had Iran begging for foreign aid as part of a U.S. and UN embargo on the terrorist state. But Biden simply chose not to enforce the ban, allowing Iran to pump and export 3 billion barrels a day, earning up to $100 billion as of this recording. In addition, he gave $10 billion in cash to Iran, and allowing them to export their oil made them wealthy enough to restart their financial support of the primary terrorist groups in the Middle East. The results were obvious on October 7, 2023. Biden bucks also supplied the weapons to include automatic rifles, rockets, and anti-tank missiles purchased from China and Russia, and has seen great increase in attacks upon U.S. troops in Iraq, Syria, and at ships at sea fired from Yemen by Houthi terrorists, also sponsored by Iran. In 2020, the U.S. debt was $23 trillion and gold $1,500 an ounce. 2023, $33 trillion and gold is over $2,000 an ounce. There's a direct correlation to the national debt and price of gold. Donald Trump warned, the U.S. dollar no longer being the world standard will be our greatest defeat in 200 years.
Dollar all over. But you take a look at what's happening to it now with other countries not using it.
Call the proud Americans of the Patriot.
There's a part two to that conversation right there, to be honest with you. Right? And it involves when Muammar Gaddafi was removed. I don't know if y'all know this about Muammar Gaddafi. But the dollar is propped up and it's used in a form of exchange, right? So you can't buy my material with, let's say I'm selling aprons. You can't buy my aprons with selling me coffee mugs. You got to buy my apron specifically by selling me ice, right? I want ice by the ton. It's called petrodollar. Part three to that is the pressure that's being put on Venezuela right now. Y'all want to take a look at that stuff, y'all could just go ahead and look for yourself and come to your own conclusions. But these things aren't, in my mind, there's no of these things are one-off things. You hear me?
The military, which reduces
like, share, subscribe, hit the button here.
Combat readiness and increases the cost of the overall military budget, given the elevated healthcare requirements for many, forcing the taxpayers to pay for transitioning surgeries and aftercare, which also debilitates military readiness. One of Trump's great accomplishments was securing additional healthcare access for veterans by outsourcing care to private facilities with the guarantee of federal compensation. This program greatly benefited veterans who had suffered for decades with long waits for treatments and evaluation, especially by getting them into specialists within a matter of days in some cases instead of months or even years. My own son, Max, a Marine Afghanistan veteran, was a beneficiary of this outstanding program that even many Democrats supported. But Biden killed it when he decided that sending VA healthcare workers to handle the millions of illegal immigrants he allowed in violating his oath of office and federal immigration law and national security was more important.
There's no way you could tell me that the open border policy isn't a treasonary act. It's an act against the people. And like Bro said, it's an act against the oath of office, right? And the blacks couldn't get help that's been here. But they want to vote for Biden and Cam. And Cam was a part of that administration. I just don't get it, bro. My philosophy on it is they don't care about anything but feeling good right now and having something to cheer about right now, which is more based on identity politics. And you're willing to destroy the future of your kids and your grandkids, and maybe the kids after that, simply to feel good right now when they are the ones who violated something that every country on this planet takes very seriously. And simply, and it's just so simple. Who will they remember that brought them in here? Who will they remember? They're not gonna. They're gonna remember the Democratic Party. That's who they're gonna remember. Food, cell phones, bread in a pocket. It was so bad that people went on to TikTok and was boasting about how to keep hustling throughout the system. It was so bad that I think it was Texas or South California, SoCal, that said something along the lines of, we give them the court date to show up to see the judge about their citizenship. And we don't see him. The ratio from people that had court dates and cell phones and all that and everything set up for them, all they gotta do is come back and talk to the judge. The ratio is crazy.
Biden initially reneged on his promise to raise the Trump-era cap of 15,000 refugees per year before political pushback forced him to reconsider his stance. Instead, he just opened the southern border again, violating his oath of office and federal law.
This is the part I can't comprehend. We can look back how America was founded, right? And say, well, there's a bunch of immigrants came in here and founded the country, and they met the blacks that were here, and they met the Indians, et cetera, right? We don't need more people added to the population because that just fuck over the economy more. That means the dollar will get less and keep getting less and keep getting less because it has to spread further. But blacks thought this was a good idea simply so they could feel good. Simply because they part of the D9 gang and the Boulay gang and the Alphabet Incorporated gang. To feel good is worth the future of your own children and grandchildren. I could never, ever. You can't. I don't think there's no argument in the world, dog. None.
He also reversed Trump and rejoined the fraudulent, criminal, and totally unreliable World Health Organization and Paris Climate Accord. But there have been serious concerns. One former staffer reported that since at least 2020, during the presidential Democratic primaries, he was being forced to take dementia medications before each public appearance by his wife to render him coherent. This eyewitness said that before taking the pills, he was like a small child and unable to speak and was basically unable to function. This seems to be an explanation for his erratic and incoherent behavior. Biden also agreed to re-enter the Iran nuclear deal, which was a farce the day it was agreed upon by the Obama administration. And Biden, over the course of time, released billions of more dollars to Iran, which in turn funded more terrorism, which we are seeing today in Israel, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen. In one of the greatest
How do you fund the people you swear it down, stand against your interests? Because if we're being honest, the Zionists have infiltrated both ends of the lobby. There is no one end is Zionist based. There's no other end is Zionist based. Let me be absolutely clear about this shit. The Zionists are in the house and they are on both ends of the lobby. But you sit here and you fund people in the region of Israel. You see how you engineer something to make that thing exist? If I engineer the groups that are anti-Israel and want to war with Israel, then I could also sit here and justify why we need to go over there and handle the groups that are anti-Israel. Y'all see it? Problem solution. I give you the problem. Oh, look. Oh, wow. Wow. I have the solution right here. We'll go over there. We'll fix it. We'll square it away. Just like Saddam.
intellectual failures in American history, Biden decided to change the plan for American forces to begin withdrawing from Afghanistan in 2020, negotiated by Trump and under the provisions of a February 2020 U.S. Taliban agreement that set a May 1, 2021 deadline, with the Taliban following certain conditions. The Taliban honored those conditions under Trump, and not one American serviceman was wounded or killed during the process. However, seeing the weakness of the man in the White House and the people he surrounded himself with, the Taliban began an offensive on May 1st, and by early July, most American troops in Afghanistan had been withdrawn. Biden incompetently addressed the world by saying, quote, "The likelihood there's going to be the Taliban overrunning everything and owning the whole country is highly unlikely," end quote. On August 16, 2021, Biden addressed the messy situation, taking responsibility for it and admitting that the situation unfolded more quickly.
Y'all remember this? Do y'all remember this? When people were jumping aboard aircraft, not inside the aircraft properly seated. They were jumping. Look right here. You remember watching videos of people falling off them damn planes? This is engineered chaos. All these things are engineered and done specifically for specific reasons. You think I'm playing around with y'all, dog? Go look at Muammar Gaddafi. Go look at Gaddafi. And I promise you, once you grasp what happened over there in Libya, then a lot of this weird shit just start making a little bit more sense to you. When you look at what's blood from Congo? Damn, I was looking at him and Muammar at the same time. Big G out of the Congo was wrecking shit. engineered chaos. Engineered. I create the problem and I make you beg me to come solve it.
Than we had anticipated. The U.S. military completed the withdrawal from Afghanistan on August 30th. Biden called the extraction of over 120,000 Americans, Afghans, and their other allies an extraordinary success, although he acknowledged that up to 200 Americans, by his estimate, who wanted to leave did not leave, despite his August 18th pledge to keep troops in Afghanistan until all Americans who wanted to leave had left. He abandoned them. He never explained leaving over $80 billion worth of expensive and sensitive military hardware to be sold or given to Iran, Russia, and China to be reverse engineered and possibly used against us. He defended his decision on the method to withdraw, saying that Americans should not be dying in a war that Afghan forces are not willing to fight for themselves. We have already posted a video on this disaster, so we will not belabor the matter here. In another incomprehensible display of illogic, right after virtually killing the oil and gas industry by closing federal lands that Trump approved, on February 4th, 2021, the Biden administration announced that the United States was ending its support of the Saudi-led bombing campaign in Yemen against the Iranian-backed Houthi terrorists, and that he would reevaluate the United States' relationship with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia had been bombing the Iran-backed Houthi rebels, the terrorist group that had been attacking Saudi Arabia, a group which Biden also removed from the official terrorist list, appeasing Iran, whom he paid off.
As Patrice Lumumba from Congo, the DR Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo.
So, Biden flips off the Saudis, destroying the strong bonds made by President Trump with the Abraham Accords that brought Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Israel, Morocco, United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain into a negotiation, with all those nations focused upon Iran as the primary threat to the region, in essence, a coalition. Biden also depleted the critical U.S. strategic oil reserve to compensate for the rapid drop in domestic production in order to offset skyrocketing fuel prices. But even worse, he was selling that oil to China as well, while at the same time giving Iran billions of more dollars directly and letting them ship their oil to fund terrorists.
The same Iran that Israel swear to God is the big beast out there. The same Iran that when investigated had zero nuclear weapons or nuclear weapons program. That same Iran that they're talking about now, yesterday, the day before, that they want to put on the map so hard and so heavy, just like they did Muammar Gaddafi. Y'all ain't comprehending why I was bringing up Muammar, huh? You don't see you have to. Let's go back to 9/11 real quick, and then we move on with the video. And I hope this gravitates and grounds what the fuck I'm saying. When 9/11 happened, every single red-blooded American felt the need that the armed forces needed to go touch Al Qaeda and give them smoke. Bin Laden getting smoked. Everybody that was even mentioned was supposed to get smoked. And the country psychologically and emotionally was aligned. That is the manufacturing and the engineering of consent. Because then nobody in America, the people in society, would feel like what is being done is just and they have no reason to ask questions. Listen to what the fuck I'm telling you. This shit might be uncomfortable. It might not be. It might not be the cool topic on the block. That's not why I'm here. I'm not here to be a fucking cool guy. Muslims across the country were getting beat up on. I was alive. I was alive. I was in high school. I lived in New Jersey when this happened. I was in New Jersey. My daddy lived in New York at the time. I remember this shit. Nobody ever heard the name Bin Laden before. Now everybody in a turban gets beat the fuck up. The whole country is anti-Muslim, Islam. And the whole country feels like we need to go over there and wreck shit. Damn eyelashes, bro. I'm not joking with y'all, bro.
In order to try and recover from that imbecilic self-inflicted wound, Biden went begging to Venezuela and Saudi Arabia, nations he openly vilified, to purchase oil from those nations, which only increased the price at the pump and made us a weaker nation. When Biden went to the Saudis begging for more oil to be pumped and shipped to the U.S., the Saudis simply refused. Trump's projection of power kept the world's bad actors in check, but Biden's posturing and displays of frailty, stupidity, and weakness made the world a far more dangerous place. After Russia invaded Ukraine, which would not have happened under Trump, Biden inexplicably refused to allow NATO countries to provide the Ukrainians with high-tech Soviet-made equipment, especially missiles and jet fighter bombers, which the Ukrainians understood and could have put to good use. His apathetic physical response to the problem contrasted with his public verbal support of Ukraine. Only now is Biden being under pressure to supply Ukraine, much like when Obama and Biden said nothing and did nothing as Putin took Crimea in 2014. In Chapter 4, we will follow the money trails that explain Biden's blind eye approach to these rogue regimes. But what Biden did was to appoint persons within the federal government who were both politically and possibly financially beholden to the Biden crime family. The American public, in fact, the world at large, has seen the complete abrogation of equal application of federal laws, and here are a few examples. The federal government agencies have been protecting the Biden crime family's operations, as well as the double legal standard applied to Democrats and Republicans, and how Joe Biden has, for the time being, benefited from this corruption.
I comprehend that things that happen on the world stage get real complicated. And they have long histories. And the leaders change, just like they change here. Attitudes change. The social psyche changes in these countries, just like it changes here. These things are things that is like a moving ball, right? So adaptation is key. So I try not to do the comparison point of America to another country, and I don't do it. Excuse me, pardoname. I try to stay out of that lane for a specific reason, because they own politics and they own social psyches. Is something you have to be there and live to comprehend and know. Right? It takes time to experience it. I haven't been in these places that long. When I look at this one right here, I've been here long enough to comprehend it and see what it is. But the things that the leaders here do, specifically when they go against blatantly without any type of give a fuck, that's where I have an issue with.
Here, we will lay out the roadmap for why Joseph Biden should have been indicted and possibly will still be indicted. Besides opening the southern border and allowing an unfettered invasion of our country by people from 174 nations and counting, Biden, on November 2nd, 2022, while packing files at the Penn Biden Center, Biden's attorneys found classified documents spanning his career both as a senator and his vice presidency in a supposed locked closet. According to the White House, the documents were reported that day to the U.S. National Archives, which recovered the documents the next day under FBI supervision. On November 14th, the totally corrupt Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed U.S. Attorney John R. Lausch Jr. to conduct an investigation, which was a smokescreen. On December 20th, a second collection of classified documents was discovered in the garage of Biden's Wilmington, Delaware residence. This was not a secure and
Now tell me the fuck when you could take classified documents, just have them anywhere. I have a security clearance because of the job that I do. The job that I do mandates me to have a fucking security clearance. You think I don't fucking know what the fuck I'm talking about, dog? You cannot. Dog, some of these rooms we have to go in to talk about these certain things. You can't even take your fucking cell phone. When we do videos and we watching videos about things that happen, you can't even take your fucking cell phone. Am I fucking bullshitting? In your fucking house. The same way Hillary Clinton, cackling long head ass, also had a fucking laptop and cell phones with fucking information on it, and nothing happened under fucking Comey. Are we losing our fucking mind here? What the fuck we looking at? Are we losing our fucking composure, our minds, our baseline sensibilities about what the fuck we looking at? Let me tell you this for sure. If I took a classified document or a classified computer, classified it's called a PD. I think it's called a PDA. But it's pretty much a phone, right? It's pretty much a phone. First of all, you can't transfer these documents into these other things because it's not secured. It's not on a secured fucking line. When I tell you, you can't even take cell phones into certain fucking rooms. We just watching aviation tapes. We watching tapes about shit that happens when the shit go down, right? And that's the fun part about it. When we do some shit, we go run some ops or whatever, and we get to see the fun parts of it. It's not really fun, but you understand what I'm saying? You can't take your cell phone in there. You can't even take your smartwatch in that motherfucker, dog. What are we talking about? Joe Biden got secret classified documents. Hillary got documents every fucking where. So bad. Dog. Dog. I'm so glad I found this channel, dog. Because this channel is the real deal. And it talks about things that I know about. If I know 40% of it, I'm learning the other 60%. And because the reputation of this channel is objective, I believe that it exists in truth in reporting. What you got, big bro? Crazy how deep this stuff goes, but yeah. It's in our face. Dog. Oh my God. Kofa, write that down. Write that down right there. Why do we get to see the things that are being done to us, but nobody raises the alarm? Or the alarm is raised and then circumcised and coiled and water is tossed on that fire, but not enough people are tracking what's going on with them. because I think we could smoke that out. I think me and you could smoke that out in a good hour. I think a good hour of that conversation, we could smoke all that out, dog. The active. So I'll tell you, I work contracts. I'm with y'all every day. Well, not with y'all, but I'm with the Navy every day. I know exactly what goes on. I got my job because I have a clearance, because I'm a stand up in the eyes of the government, right? I ain't got it. But I get to see these things. I get to hear these things. I get to go to these rooms and hear this shit, bro. I'm telling you, for real. Violation after violation after violation with nothing. And let's say, well, you know what? We don't care about that shit. Say less. Did you care about him opening up the fucking border? Do you care about him not giving a fuck about you? Do you care about him playing identity politics with you and telling you something about Trump? And if you're confused about voting for me or Trump, then you ain't black because he's the black person? Because y'all resonate with him? How much fucking disrespect, dog.
Approved location, unlike Donald Trump's storeroom at Mar-a-Lago, which was not only FBI approved and Secret Service protected, it also had 24/7 surveillance. Biden had classified documents dating back to the early 1970s, which he had to have stolen because he had no authorization to access. Given that no one except the president has control authority to remove documents from secure locations and only the president has immediate declassification authority, these were obviously stolen documents, and despite being decades old, most were not declassified. These were felonies, 1 count per document, which were not only unsecured in a garage, but in the possession of an unauthorized person where others had direct access to these items. If any other American had been in possession of any of these documents, they would have to be reincarnated many times over in order to serve all the prison sentences that would have been issued. But in another clear example of preferred justice, when the later search warrants were being prepared, Biden's attorneys were called by the FBI and warned in advance that there would be a search of various properties, and there were no SWAT teams and heavy weaponry, unlike with Donald Trump. These findings were made public on January 10, 2023, after several news outlets published articles on the investigation, many from leaked sources. On January 12th, Garland appointed Robert K. Hur as the special counsel to investigate the possible unauthorized removal and retention of classified documents or other records. Only a Democrat president protected by the liberal deep state could have that decision rendered and not be in handcuffs. On January 20th, after a 13-hour consensual search by FBI investigators, 6 more classified items were recovered from Biden's Wilmington home. Again, no charges. FBI agents searched Biden's other home in Rehoboth Beach on February 1st and collected papers and notes from his time as vice president, but they claimed they did not find any classified information. And yet, in another inexplicable decision, Biden allowed a Chinese spy balloon to fly over Alaska, Canada, and the continental United States as it passed over some of our most sensitive military installations. Only after the public was asking hard questions did Biden order the United States Air Force to shoot it down on February 4th, 2023, off the coast of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The Biden administration was very quiet about the event until it was forced to admit the fact that the balloon was carrying 2 railroad cars equivalent worth of spy equipment. The Chinese government denied that it was a spy balloon, instead claiming it was a civilian meteorological weather balloon that had blown off course.
I remember that.
The question is, since the U.S. already knew what it was, and Biden was...
I know you remember that. I know, that was just the other day. I know you remember this. It was just the other day this happened. I know you remember this boy.
Was informed. What was he doing as it continued gathering intelligence? The State Department said the balloon carried antennas and other equipment capable of geolocating communication signals, and similar balloons from China have already flown over more than 40 nations before this event. Our intelligence agencies were recording the same data that was being sent to China, so they knew what information was being gathered, and Biden still refused to act, in part for, we will explain why. As of November 2009, Biden's net worth was less than $250,000, but miraculously, by November 2020, the Bidens were worth $9 million, at least on the books, which was explained away as largely being due to sales of Biden's books and speaking fees after his vice presidency. However, book sales reports and IRS documents showed that was not true, and in fact, much of that income was unaccounted for and undeclared foreign money. This was also the period where Hunter Biden flew with him to various countries, secured lucrative deals without any
I don't know, dog. I don't know, dog. I don't even know if people care.
Any real experience in these various businesses and sat on boards where his father had oversight of those countries as part of his duties as vice president. So far, the Biden wealth factor is estimated to be around $32 million, most of it undeclared and untaxed income, which has yet to result in anything resembling an indictment, except against his son, Hunter Biden, and we will break that down in greater detail in Part 4.
Well, he got pardoned.
In another display of the Biden Führerschaft is when he unleashed the Department of Justice in true Gestapo fashion against those persons and groups he deems as enemies, such as sending SWAT teams to the homes of citizens who were not even wanted for violent crimes. One such victim was pro-life father of 7, Mark Houck, whose home was raided on September 23, 2022, and he was acquitted in federal court on charges of violating the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act. His case was a clear violation of his constitutional rights, and he is planning to sue the FBI and other authorities following his ordeal. Biden's Justice Department, through Attorney Merrick Garland and the FBI Director Christopher Wray, sent memos out to field offices to spy on Catholic Americans in their churches, labeling them far right-wing domestic terrorists. I have to wonder, where were they when burn, loot, murder, and Antifa were torching 635 cities in multiple events and destroying federal buildings, police stations, and actually killing people? This same Keystone Cops Collective also branded concerned parents who challenged their progressive pornography-riddled school boards as domestic terrorists and actually used the Democrat-run school boards and local district attorneys to conceal the violent rapes of young girls by transgender boys and then arrest the parents who came forward asking for answers. When Biden's daughter...
This is why I know y'all care about y'all kids. Hey. Stop. This is how I know y'all care about y'all kids. Look go back.
And the FBI Director Christopher Wray sent memos out to field offices to spy on Catholic Americans in their churches, labeling them far right-wing domestic terrorists. I have to wonder, where were they when burn, loot, murder, and Antifa were torching 635 cities in multiple events and destroying federal buildings, police stations, and actually killing people? This same Keystone Cops Collective also branded concerned parents who challenged their progressive pornography-riddled school boards as domestic terrorists and actually used the Democrat-run school boards and local district attorneys to conceal the violent rapes of young girls by transgender boys and then arrest the parents who came forward asking for answers.
What did he say?
Let me tell you something. A special place in help people like that. Special. But y'all, they like to vote for this bullshit. They don't care anything about feeling good today. That's the only way it makes sense to me. You care about feeling good today so y'all could dance at the gangbanger party. It's a special place for y'all too. It is. Especially for y'all that just have no fucking reason, no sound conversation about it. Special place for y'all. I'm not dealing with the ignorance, bro. And I'm sure as Almighty God created himself, love children. And look at children as divine, clean, and pure. I'm sure he'll make sure you know you fucked up. I'm sure he will.
When Biden's daughter Ashley's diary was left behind in the halfway house where she was staying after drug rehabilitation, James O'Keefe, a man whom I met and spoke with of Project Veritas, was given what were purported to be copies. He decided not to publish the contents because he could not verify its authenticity, which is jurisprudent, and he handed the diary over to law enforcement, which was raided anyway. The cover story was that the diary had been stolen, which was proven to be untrue, but the supposed contents do not put Joseph Biden in a very good light as a parent. In fact, some of the reported contents would lead some jurisdictions to consider criminal charges. However, Biden's past came back to haunt him again. As unbiased fact-checkers began exploring his many outrageous claims, his pandering to voters, and even his constituents, became legendary. We covered some of these in parts 1 and 2, but here are a few others that are simply mind-boggling and too good to pass up. These are some real gems. In part 4, we will continue the never-ending saga of Biden's lies to constituents and voters to curry favor.
Stop.
And we hope you find this part very interesting.
Anybody fight a bird before? Anybody? No. Asking for a friend here. Asking for. Don't call them what you call them? Peta people. Don't call peta. Relax. Let's take a quick little spinny, you hear me? And we jumping right back at it. Because I just don't comprehend. As an adult, you got your own brain and your own mind. You just choose to be full of fuckery. Peace, power, and prosperity. But take a quick spin it. And then you know what we do. You heard? Going right back at it to close out Joe Biden's chapter. And then it's up. G. Then we're gonna talk about the LA fire. And after that we talk about the sun and the moon. Yeah. Yo, we back at it. About to finish up the last part of it. Yo, this motherfucker is constantly eating. And then spit the shit they don't want out at. So I love, bro. Have mercy on me. My poor soul, right? Let me get this one loaded up. Boom. And we last part of this Biden shit, and then we roll into some positive shit. Right?
Fire sorted.
Yo, Reaper, don't be laughing, dog. Assholes. They're fucking assholes.
Biden crime families, grafting, and extortion, the pending impeachment proceedings, as well as Biden selling out his office of vice president for great profit, and how he could be tried for treason. Joseph Biden and his family have been getting very wealthy by illegal means for many years. Their illegitimate business contacts, violation of the Foreign Agents Registration Act, violations of U.S. and international sanctions against specific business partners, and failing to file proper, accurate, and often fraudulent IRS tax returns. But was that all? When Joe Biden left the Senate to become vice president, his reported net worth was just about $20,000. By the time you viewers see this, that wealth factor is now $32 million. Let's see how they did it. How did Joe Biden and his family become multimillionaires in such a short time on his government salary with no appreciable businesses? Who else was involved in covering up for the Biden crime family? How deep is the corruption? Does Biden's corruption only involve illegal financial gains? Do we have a double standard of justice?
Hello, I'm Colin Heaton, military veteran, historian, author,
Colin, big salute.
and welcome to this episode
He look like he tall as shit.
of Forgotten History.
Well, as far as the lies go, Biden had also said that he taught constitutional law for around 21 years. Well, we'll just leave that be since we know better. Getting to the main points of this episode, the FBI used 40 informants inside the Biden family over the past 15 years, and some became whistleblowers. The research team at Marco Polo included legal advisors who identified 459 violations of statutes and regulations that could lead to criminal prosecution of the Bidens and their associates. Emails from 2009 to 2019 revealed that Hunter Biden was a paid consultant for companies from China and Ukraine, and he sought similar work in other countries. In the 8 years following 2009, while his father was vice president, Hunter received around $5 million for a deal he made with a rising Chinese energy conglomerate called CEFC China Energy. For 15 years, credible informants had been providing criminal information against the Bidens to the FBI field offices across the country, and every time the information has been brought to FBI headquarters, the leadership of the FBI shuts it down. That story took another twist as Representative Jim Jordan, Republican of Ohio, wrote a letter to FBI Director Christopher Wray asking for information about another FBI Form FD-1023 from March 2017, which contained allegations from the same informant that foreign interests paid the Biden family millions of dollars. Senator Chuck Grassley, Republican of Iowa, upset a few liberals last year when he revealed a whistleblower came forward with information and confirmation about the existence of a June 2020 FBI Form FD-1023, outlining allegations from a highly credible confidential informant that the founder of Burisma paid then Vice President Joe Biden a $5 million bribe in exchange for helping to fire a prosecutor investigating Burisma for corruption. No one has yet to provide a legitimate explanation as to why then Vice President Joe Biden appeared on camera in 2018 and bragged about how he pressured the president of Ukraine to fire a prosecutor who had been investigating a company that paid his son millions to sit on its board of directors. I had just heard sworn witness testimony that the Biden bribery allegations on the FD-1023 form were credible, and that he referred the criminal matters originating from it to 3 separate U.S. attorneys' offices in Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Delaware for further investigation. The FBI used this informant for many years and paid them more than $100,000, meaning the Bureau found their information quite reliable and useful. The informant also presented evidence that Biden forced his deadbeat crackhead son Hunter to give him 50% of his salaries on all the jobs he held and every bribe he
I'm definitely
meaning the Bureau found their information quite reliable and useful. The informant also presented evidence that Biden forced his deadbeat crackhead son Hunter to
What did he say? What did he say?
Reaper. Reaper. I'm just here creating content. That's a
To give him 50% of his salaries on all the jobs he held and every bribe he received for being son of Joe Biden and selling his father's position for profit.
they got the same ears.
There's two things Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, fee for life, no legitimate forensic investigation this purpose, and provided no services or products, but one of the best methods was academic investment. The University of Pennsylvania Biden Center received around $1 million in donations from Communist China. Part of this was exposed during the House forensic investigation, which yielded 56 pages of fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, obstruction of justice, and prosecution.
Of course he's getting paid. He's the one who's really the big fish, bro. You know he big dog. You gotta give me my cut, bro.
Bribery and influence peddling. Chinese donors also pumped millions into the University of Delaware.
Huh?
Money paid out to Biden family members, such as Biden's brother James, his son Hunter, Biden's daughter-in-law, possibly his wife Jill, from deals with State Energy HK Limited, a Chinese communist energy company. The primary whistleblower also directed investigators to other payments, and the evidence shows that checks were made out to the grandchildren as well, and the whistleblower's information was confirmed. In 2018, James Biden, brother of the president, even received a direct wire transfer of $600,000 himself, and the next day he wrote a check to Joe for $200,000 and stated it was a loan repayment. However, the bank audits proved that there was never a check written by Joe Biden to James in any amount, hence funneling the cash to the big guy from their Owasco account, which was receiving the bulk of the automatic foreign wire transfers, most from China. That money was then laundered to their other offshore and shell company accounts and the Biden crime family members. What did the paid confidential informant Alexander Smirnov get for his efforts? The FBI he spent 14 years working for, and whose intelligence over the years was confirmed by other federal witnesses and agencies, was recently arrested by the FBI and accused of lying about his evidence, which is already corroborated in most cases. This followed on the heels of Anthony Bobulinski's closed-door deposition under oath, a follow-up from his original statements from 2019, which the FBI and Justice Department ignored to help Biden's presidential run. The Biden
Homie Hillary, maybe.
DOJ is trying to silence witnesses. Even the left-wing New York Post reported. A different former Biden family associate, Rob Walker, testified on January 26 that the Biden family's business relationship with CEFC began as early as 2015 when Joe Biden was still vice president, and that Joe Biden attended a meeting in early 2017 with CEFC chairman Yi Jianming, who has since gone missing in China amid corruption allegations. This testimony was corroborated by Bobulinski, who had also handed over smartphones with texts and emails confirming what many already knew. Luckily, copies were given to Republican investigators, just had the contents of Hunter's laptop. The evidence is overwhelming. Even the liberally corrupt CNN reported, Tony Bobulinski, the former business partner, was open to testifying, and his attorney reached out to the Office of Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss. Weiss, who was appointed as a special counsel by Attorney General Merrick Garland, did not return their calls, the sources said. Weiss's decision not to bring Bobulinski in is the latest indication that prosecutors investigating Hunter Biden may have avoided
Would you invite this person to dinner?
investigating allegations about his father, President Joe Biden. Incidentally, it was Weiss who decided to indict and silence the FBI informant Alexander Smirnov. More information.
I don't know why I like this lady, but I do. Does that sound? I don't know why. G-Birds.
Information came to light.
I don't know what. But Nancy Mace could definitely get an Olive Garden. You hear me? Out the gate. Out the gate, she get Olive. And if she want to go on a second date, she might get a Fogo de Chao. You hear me?
Between 2016 and 2020, $7 million was paid to Hunter from China alone, which went
China.
undeclared and taxes
Conflict of interest?
unpaid. Right after he took office, Biden reversed Trump's restrictions on Chinese student infiltration and CCP influence through the Confucius Institute due to the theft of intellectual property and espionage.
Oh, if y'all are under the illusion that the people that they tell you are the enemy are not here already, wake the fuck up. Wake the fuck up. You know how much fucking Chinese people they have found already here in America? Everybody that has a Intel program is already here.
Hunter also allegedly received $3.5 million in a wire transfer from the widow of the former mayor of Moscow, Yuri Lushkov, part of the allegations which Joe Biden had previously denied.
Not Russia. Not Russia. It got to be a different Moscow. It got to be Moscow, Iowa, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota. There's no way that people that we swear to God, we posture against and call them fucked off are in dealings with the president of the United States' son. This is impossible. This is impossible. This must be fuckery.
During his debate with Trump.
China ate your lunch. That 18%. China ate your lunch, Joe, and no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars, to manage. He makes millions of dollars, and also while we're at it, why is it? Just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million. What did he do to deserve it? What did he do with Burisma to deserve $183,000?
None of that is true. None of that is true.
Oh, really?
Totally,
Mr. President,
it's totally,
President, please.
Totally discredited.
The bank records show the payment, but there
You see why people like the Trump?
is nothing to show exactly how much Hunter Biden received himself, and the bank, abiding by federal law, along with others, filled out federal suspicious activities reports to the IRS. Records show that in 2015, $3.1 million was divided up between the Biden family members, as well as an unknown sum to Hunter's business partner, Devin Archer. Part of the investigative reports.
He could have bagged him something a little better. Yeah, he could have bagged something a little bit more cool. It is what it is. It is what it is, man. The heart be loving what the heart be loving. You hear me?
Dated February 14, 2014, Baturina wired $3.5 million to a Rosemont Seneca Thornton bank account for a consultancy.
Well, there you go. Oligarchs out of Russia. Y'all think we really out here playing with these fucking people, dog? They playing fucking Game of Thrones in front of your fucking face. They playing House Wars.
The agreement. Rosemont Seneca Thornton is an investment firm co-founded by Hunter Biden, Devin Archer, and Christopher Hines, just one of many accounts. Of great interest, the Rosemont Seneca Thornton records are not available to the public. The report also states that Rosemont Seneca Thornton served as a pass-through for Baturina's investments and a Chinese-based tech startup in Buffalo, New York. The report is 87 pages long. It says, Baturina became Russia's only female billionaire when her plastics company, Inteco, received a series of Moscow municipal contracts while her husband was mayor. The report said that Biden and Baturina had a financial relationship. Hunter Biden's lawyer, George Masiris, said Biden did not get $3.5 million and that the report has a key error. He stated, Hunter Biden had no interest.
I don't think I could invite him to dinner at my house.
In and was not a co-founder of Rosemont Seneca Thornton, so the claim that he was paid $3.5 million is false, Masiris said in an email. When Masiris was asked if he could share
You want this at your house eating dinner?
documents to show that Hunter Biden was not a co-founder, he did not receive any money. He did not respond. The IRS whistleblowers tracking the money stated they had emails and reports proving the investigation into the Bidens was interrupted. Those reports were requested. This request was ignored, just like the investigation, even when the whistleblowers brought it to their superiors' attention, as well as Merrick Garland and the DOJ. What is even more incredible is that it was revealed during the investigation that in 2014, Elena Baturina supposedly closed a $100 million real estate deal with Hunter Biden's group. Although there has been no paperwork to prove such a deal ever existed, but money was transferred. Again, undeclared and untaxed income was filtered through 23 shell companies. But what is Biden doing for all this Chinese money? Well, let's take a look. He's trying to impose a mandatory purchase by all American citizens of electric cars to replace internal combustion engines. Ironically enough, China is the primary producer of the nickel batteries, the cadmium batteries, lithium batteries that operate these cars, and the cars are also built in China. Another factor is that he is trying to push solar energy and windmill technology to replace petroleum energy, which is a very unreasonable and illogical assumption that could be done. However, China is producing most of the solar panels and the windmill technology. Wonder if the Biden crime family is getting a kickback. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, Republican of Kentucky, stated, the impeachment case is based on a large record of evidence, including bank records and witness testimony, revealing that Joe Biden knew of and participated in his family's business dealings. In May 2023, the FBI rejected Comer's request to see the documents, saying that policy strictly limits when and how confidential human source information can be provided outside of the FBI. So, FBI Director Christopher Wray was called in before House hearings several times and asked about the documentation pertaining to the investigation. Wray and the DOJ at first denied such records even existed, but a whistleblower stated otherwise, and a copy was given to the hearing panel. Chuck Grassley himself ended up releasing the document in the open. The House Republicans investigating even threatened to hold the director of the FBI in contempt last year to force the Bureau to show them the underlying documents, which they originally denied existed but were eventually released. Why the lies and hiding evidence if there was no provable corruption, or if the informant was now considered unreliable after so many years of faithful paid service?
Gang, I don't think we need to hear any more. I don't know if you can hear the G-bird, but it's a G-bird flying around. Something happened. Something happened recently and locally. For sure. Something definitely happened. I'm trying to hear what exactly happened, but I can't really. Something definitely happened. But it's a G-bird flying around making a noise. Yeah, why the fuck is my life have so much things going on? What the fuck? No. I said no. Nope. No, I don't want to hear that shit. I'm getting this other one together. Clearly, I can't do it the way I used to do it all of a sudden, and I got to do it the new. A while ago, dog, when the Palisades 5 was going on, right? Let's take a quick spin. Quick reset. We done with that shit, dog. I don't have nothing else to give y'all about Biden. Come to your own fucking conclusions. Do what the fuck you do. Live your own life. Do your own research. Do whatever it is. But the history is the history. We are in it, motherfucking winner. You hear me? So I'm gonna talk about the LA shit that happened earlier this year, right? Maybe I think it was like maybe September, maybe October. I brought it up. I think it was September that Buddy got caught, and that all the fires and the 12 bodies, 13 bodies. I think it's 12. I think it's 12 at this point. He got to go eat them charges, right? But while we talked about it initially, we was praying for the people at the Palisades and Altadena. I only ran into that name because of Tariq. When Tariq described what Altadena, what that place where all the black people lived at was. And Love pulled up and he confirmed that community. And that's what community is. We're about to take a gander. Let's take a quick listen. Shout out to Jimmy Dore. And we first spoke about it, listening to Tyreek, what Tyreek was talking about. It seemed a little too weird. We didn't have nothing on it. But between me and M Love, when M Love was giving me the information, I was just like, Tyreek giving me information, and then M Love giving me the information. Like, okay, cool. But when shit don't sound sensible, it just don't sound sensible. So we're about to blast through this one right here. Listen to this one.
So you remember when they said that they caught the guy who started the fire in Los Angeles, the LA fires? They say a Florida man accused of intentionally starting fire that destroyed Pacific Palisades. Now that always seemed sketchy to me because the guy who they said started the fire called 911. He was the guy who called 911, and he called them 3 times before the fire had even started blazing. So why would you start a fire and then immediately call 911 3 times, knowing that you're going to be the guy they're going to go to? So anyway, so it was always sketchy to me. And he had Googled, can you be put in prison for starting a fire with a cigarette butt? Because apparently, I guess he put his cigarette butt out or something, whatever. So it always seems sketchy. Here it is. That's the guy. That's the guy. They caught him in Florida. But now it turns out we got text messages. The LA firefighters were told to abandon a smoldering blaze that started.
When we spoke about it, when we heard his name, when I was talking about it, when I was talking about it, I'm dead set on it. If you set a fire that took 12 lives and burnt down communities, you need smoke. But there is.
On January 1st. You want to hear it? Here.
Report says firefighters were ordered to leave the smoldering burn site that eventually became the deadly
Oh,
Palisades wildfire. The LA Times is obtained text messages from 3 firefighters at the scene of the Lockman fire. That fire started, of course, New Year's Day and then smoldered until January 7th when historic winds reignited it into the Palisades fire. Federal prosecutors say that fire was intentionally set by Jonathan Rinderneck. On January 2nd, a battalion chief ordered firefighters at the scene to pull out of the area because the fire was contained. One firefighter said the chief had been told it was a bad idea to leave because the fire was still smoldering and could be rekindled. The LAFD has declined to comment on the text messages.
Oh, they're not commenting on them. Isn't that interesting? So it sounds like they got another patsy. They got another patsy to blame the fire on, because I'm betting they knew all along that they let that fire smolder without extinguishing it 100%. And that led to the deadliest fire and most destructive fire that I think in the history of Los Angeles. Am I wrong about that? And let's not forget that the reservoir hadn't been repaired and filled with water for 2 years. So they had a 113 million gallon reservoir right above. That's the Pacific Palisades that all burned down. They had a 113 gallon reservoir of water. They didn't fill it. They drained it. They were going to repair it. They never repaired it for 2 years.
Because I don't believe in coincidence, I know for a fact that when all the holes in the Swiss cheese line up, it's pure disaster. And when I first heard this Jimmy talk about this, and he started pumping out this other type of information, it made complete sense about why I think that. And now you kind of see it, how they talk about the perfect storm. You know.
And we've never heard a statement from the person who's in charge of the water. She makes $750,000 a year, and we've never heard a word from her. And it says, according to Median Politics, that this reservoir was specifically built for this type of fire in the Pacific Palisades. It's incompetent government at its best, and the mayor's still in office. They did that on purpose. So they're trying to blame.
We know who's in LA. While LA was burning, he was out there on vacation.
Even not a patsy. But guess what? So the LA Times, they break it down for us. So days before the Palisades Inferno, firefighters were ordered to leave smoldering burn site. What? Uh-oh. Firefighters mopping up a small brush fire that authorities say reignited as the Palisades fire 5 days later were ordered to leave the original burn scene, even though they complained the ground was still smoldering and rocks remained hot to the touch, according to firefighters.
Go fuck. Stand, slap the fuck up. Because I know you heard about the LA fire. I know you heard about the LA fire. I tracked this information maybe when I first started talking, around the same time I started talking about Buddy, who made the phone calls and all the other shit, and I was giving him the bee's knees. Cool. Within that same week, I was talking about Buddy. Other information came. Sat on it, didn't touch it. Now, this is more information, because the other information that I ran into was the him actually being proactive in the calling for 911 and trying to get it put out or whatever the case was. That's the information I ran into. So the information I ran into on that one was, it said basically because he made a mistake and tried to prevent it, it looks like his case is cool. It look like he's not gonna get fucked over, right? Cool. This shit right here, seal the deal. That's why the next motherfucking video I'm about to show y'all right now is exactly what the fuck we've been talking about all fucking night. And when you could put a thread and tie a string and make some shit linear and see how things ain't just motherfucking as simple as motherfuckers trying to tell you it is. This is what the fuck type of shit we run into constantly. But that like we was talking about earlier. ain't as dissimilar and shit ain't as separated as the fuck we thinking. Wash, rinse, repeat. Puzzle. Pray for the people out there in Jamaica. Big respect to you. One love.
There's text messages that were reviewed by the LA Times. To the firefighters' surprise, their battalion chief ordered them to roll up their hoses and pull out of the area on January 2nd. To their surprise. Boy, is this going to be grist for the conspiracy mill. So it's very much sounds like the Israeli soldiers being given a stand down order on October 7th. The day after the 8-acre blaze was declared contained. So that they told them to pull up their hoses on January 2nd, the day after the 8-acre blaze was declared contained, rather than stay and make sure there were no hidden embers that could spark a new fire. The text messages said they were told to get out of there instead of sticking around. On the morning of January 7th, according to federal authorities, strong winds stoked the remnants of the New Year's Day blaze into the firestorm that killed 12 people and destroyed thousands of homes. In one text message, a firefighter who was at the scene on January 2nd wrote that the battalion chief had been told it was a bad idea to leave the burn scar unprotected because of the visible signs of smoldering terrain. And the rest is history, the firefighter wrote in recent weeks. The text exchanges among 3 firefighters and a third party provide previously undisclosed details about the Los Angeles Fire Department's handling of the Lockman fire, which federal investigators say was deliberately set and had burned underground in a canyon root system until the winds rekindled it. The third party asked that he and the firefighters not be named because they were not authorized to speak publicly. The Los Angeles Fire Department declined to comment on the text messages, but has said officials believed the fire was fully extinguished. We believed it was, even though the text messages say they were warned that it wasn't. The revelation that firefighters feared the Lockman fire could reignite comes as Pacific Palisades residents and others who lost homes and loved ones demand to know why more wasn't done to protect their communities. Why? Because if you went to talk to those people, I've seen videos of independent news people going to the Palisades immediately after the fires, where they had an aid station set up where they would give people food and water and what have you. And they were interviewing them. People just lost their whole life. And they're asking them, did they hold the politicians, the mayor, accountable? And they're like, no, there's nothing they could do. You know, there was a 113 million gallon reservoir above the Pacific Palisades built specifically for this type of thing. And they left it unfilled for 2 years. Did you know that? Yeah, there's nothing they could do. That wouldn't have helped. Anyway, complaints that the people in the Palisades were not screaming. That my point is, they were willing to protect their Democratic politicians. I don't know why, but they were, and still nobody demands any answers from Karen Bass, the mayor, or Governor Gavin Newsome. Nope, there's nobody. The revelations that firefighters feared the Lockman fire could reignite comes as the Pacific Palisades residents and others who lost homes and loved ones demand. Oh, now they're demanding. That's good.
If the people in the Trin tell you we cannot leave simply because there's conditions that still remain that could generate a fire rekindling, and you're not in the fucking trench, I don't see how long this conversation has to.
Complaints that the city and state failed to properly prepare for and respond to the January 7th fire are already the subject of numerous lawsuits and a Republican-led inquiry by the U.S. Senate committee. This month, interim LA Fire Department Chief Ronnie Villanova said in a statement that the Palisades Inferno was not due to failed suppression. Of course it's not, according to him. No, it's not us. It had nothing to do with that. Instead, he said it was the result of an undetectable holdover fire that lived deep within the roots, even though the firemen on the scene were saying we should keep an eye on this and we shouldn't leave yet. In the text messages, firefighters
Listen to the points that's about to be brought up right here. It's fucking insane.
Plane that the commanders failed to make certain that the mop-up was finished. So they didn't make certain. So they left a fire burning. And they're going to blame that guy. A second firefighter said in January that crews at Station 69 in the Palisades were surprised that they were told to roll up their hoses the day after the fire. According to the text, the firefighter was told that tree stumps were still hot at the location when the crew packed up and left. That's according to those texts. As a standard precaution, the hoses had been left there in case hidden embers sparked a flare-up. A different firefighter said this month that crew members were upset when told to pack up and leave, but that they could not ignore orders, according to the texts. The firefighter also wrote that he and his colleague knew immediately that the January 7th fire was a rekindle of the January 1st fire. The battalion chief listed as being on duty that day, that the firefighters were ordered to leave the Lockman fire. His name is Mario Garcia. He did not respond to requests for comment. Probably smart. Probably smart on his half. In a previous interview with the Times, Villanueva said firefighters remained in the burn area for more than 36 hours and cold trailed it, meaning they used their hands to feel for heat, dug out hot spots, and chopped a line around the perimeter of the fire to ensure it was contained. Yeah, they did cold feel it, and they thought there was hot tree stumps. That's what the texts say. They found there were hot tree stumps. It wasn't cold. He said firefighters returned on January 3rd for another round of cold trailing after a report of smoke in the area. We went back over there again. We dug it out all again. We did everything that we could do. Cold trail again. We did it all. We did all that. Okay. All right. The Times asked the Los Angeles Fire Department to provide dispatch records that would corroborate firefighters visiting the site on January 3rd. Officials didn't provide them. City Council member Tracy Park, who represents the Palisades, said she had heard from residents that there was smoke at the site before January 7th. I think it raises the question, knowing that there was a fire on January 1st and then rekindle activity. Knowing that there's an enhanced risk in that area, why weren't additional resources staged or deployed in and around that area, she said in an interview. Good question. Experts had long suspected that the Palisades fire had been ignited by embers left by the January 1 blaze. But it was only with an arson arrest this month that federal investigators officially declared the deadly conflagration a holdover fire, the continuation of the Lockman fire that was seemingly extinguished. Former Pacific Palisades resident Jonathan Rinderknecht has been charged with deliberately setting the January 1st fire shortly after midnight near a trailhead. They got to get a patsy. They got to get a guy. During the investigation, that the ATF concluded that the fire smoldered and burned for...
Dog, come on with the game. Come on with the game. The dude who wanted to stop the fire that he created. Queen, oh shit, you still around. Big salute to you. You heard? The dude who called to stop the fire. Let people know I possibly made a mistake. That fire was dealt with, or being dealt with. You redraw the fireman back to the firehouse. Days later, shit go left field. Dog.
Days underground. So the firemen were wrong. Well, actually, the firemen were right, as the text really revealed, that they knew that they shouldn't leave and that there was hot tree stumps and stuff like that. And there's probably not out all the way. So the firemen were right. It's the fire department that was wrong. Within the root structure of dense vegetation until heavy winds caused it to surface, according to an affidavit attached to the Rinderknecht complaint. Villanueva told the Times that neither he nor the LA Fire Department's arson squad knew what a holdover fire was until federal investigators explained it to them. You got to be kidding. Did I read that right, Chris?
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
The fire department, the new fire chief, told the LA Times that neither he nor the Los Angeles Fire Department arson squad knew what a holdover fire was. Well, they sound like they're up to snuff. They sound like they got their training done. As far as we're concerned, the fire was extinguished. Unbeknownst to us, it was still in the routing system.
Incompetent.
No, it was beknownst to the firemen on the scene. Although the Los Angeles Fire Department equips firefighters with thermal imaging cameras and also employs drones with similar infrared imaging, Villanueva said officials decided against using them. Wow. They decided against using them before leaving on January 1st, the January 1st burn area, because of the size of the fire. Oh my
Brilliant.
Oh my God. But you talk to my neighbors here in Hollywood, and they'll tell you there's nothing they could do, Jimmy. There's nothing they could do. It's just an act of God. Just nothing they could do. It's an act of God. Several former Los Angeles Fire Department chief officers said it is standard procedure to monitor a burn site for several days after a fire appeared to be out, especially if strong winds were in the forecast, which they were. Hurricane winds were in the forecast. It is a common practice for firefighters to check out past wildfires because you want to make sure it is dead out, said Patrick Butler, former Los Angeles Fire Department assistant chief. Butler managed several large fires for the LA Fire Department and oversaw its arson team. You don't leave until you have 100% mop up because fire can hide underground and reignite unexpectedly even weeks later. So it seems like that guy.
Yo, shut up that fire. I don't know if you ever been around fire or things that are on fire. It is the most uncomfortable thing you could probably experience. It's uncomfortable as fuck. Controlled fire, little burn pit. Y'all sitting around there drinking, cooling like we're doing the town square. Easy day. I've ever been around fire? Yeah, for sure. Shout out to the firefighters.
Guy knows what a holdover fire is, but isn't it weird that the current chief of the police of Los Angeles never even heard of a holdover fire? It seems like the former guy did. The former assistant chief knew.
Which is weird because the new LAFD chief is James E. Moore, supposedly with 30-year veteran of the department.
I thought it's Villanueva, according to LA Times.
I got Jamie E. Moore as the new permanent LAFD chief.
We got it. I think we locked it. We got it. Now look how shit just be so fucking coincidental for you fucking people who swear to God that coincidence be fucking existent. It just be existent.
We have special.
You coinky dink people. Enjoy another coinky.
Guest with us, Elaine Colati's back, and she's the real estate mogul, star of Discovery Channel's Undercover Billionaire. She faced significant losses due to the Palisades fire and has criticized California's current government, including Measure ULA, which she believes is hindering real estate recovery. She's a tireless advocate for California's small farmers and has discussed a possible run for California governor in 26, driven by her frustration with the state's leadership and policies. Welcome back, Undercover Billionaire Elaine Colati. Hi, Elaine.
Hey, Jimmy. How you doing, honey?
I'm doing good. I wanted to talk to you about, so now they just passed this thing and it was signed by Governor Newsome, a bill, SB 79, which Gavin Newsome signs law overhauling local zoning to build more housing. But what kind of thing is this? Well, Newsome signed off on Senate Bill 79 means that apartment developers will soon be able to pack more homes into neighborhoods within half a mile of major rail, subway, and bus rapid transit stops, overriding local zoning restrictions and any possible objections of surrounding neighbors. This sounds like a nightmare. This sounds like authoritarianism. This sounds like the stuff they accuse Trump of doing, that he's not going to allow cities or counties or local municipalities of any sort to have any say in how they zone for housing in their own neighborhoods. This sounds like a king. This sounds
mind you, this is the one who's running for president.
It's like a dictator. This sounds like authoritarianism. Buildings immediately surrounding the transit hubs will be entitled to max out as high as 9 stories. So all you have to do is have a bus lane, and they can put in an apartment on either side of that 9 stories high in single dwelling neighborhoods. And Newsome's signature comes as a grave disappointment for many local governments and neighborhood groups, particularly in Southern California. Last month, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, even Karen Bass, a Democrat, turned on her colleague and Democrat, Gavin Newsome. She turned on him and said he should veto that bill. He didn't. He signed it, saying that it would erode local control, diminish community input on planning and zoning, and disproportionately impact low-resource neighborhoods. Irate homeowner groups and state legislators raised concerns that mandating higher levels of housing density would fundamentally reshape suburban-style neighborhoods. So this is happening all over California.
Housing density means they build tall instead of building wide. Instead of building single family joints, they build apartment style. Right, so they can stack more people, so it's more dense.
California, but specifically in places like the Pacific Palisades in Altadena, where they had the fires and the beautiful single home dwelling neighborhoods. They're now going to turn into 9-story high-rise apartment buildings. And just to let you know, this is exactly what it does. It overrides local density limits to allow high-density housing developments within 1/2 mile of qualifying transit stops. It expands the state's control over housing development, particularly in areas near public transit. Among the changes, it limits local oversight by forcing cities to approve certain housing projects without the usual community review or environmental standards. The bill's core provisions require that housing development projects within specified distances of transit-oriented development those bus stops or train stops, be permitted uses on any site zoned for residential mix or use or commercial development. So that's happening. And they're, just to let you know, they're doing it here. Wolfgang Puck. So that's right there. So there's been this iconic restaurant on the coast called Gladstone's. So they have this project to rebuild it. Frank Gehry is going to help rebuild this. And guess what they're putting there? Here, let me bring in Elaine. What are they putting next to that Gladstone's?
Okay, hold on. Let's back up a second here. So SB 79 is a statewide initiative to create high-density housing around transit districts. A transit district is defined as like a train station, which they kind of have in Santa Monica, or a bus stop. And an airport. But of course, that's fine, whatever. But in local communities, these aren't regular bus stops. These are like bus stop turnaround hubs. They're transit districts where the buses can wait to pick up a lot of people, or even overnight park. Like, it's a big deal. We don't have one in the Pacific Palisades. Very few places have these in a residential neighborhood. They just don't exist. They just have regular bus stops. So that's the story as SB 79 is floating around. Some years ago, Wolfgang Puck and Frank Gehry, I think in 2018, started to work on this beautiful project at the corner of Sunset and PCH, because Gladstone's is old and has fallen into disrepair. So they're going to build, 12,000 square feet of like restaurant, retail decks, and 9,000 square foot shopping center, the whole thing on like 4 acres with all the parking. It's in conjunction with the city. They go to town. They do door knocking. They get everybody to agree to it in the Palisades because it's an improvement. It's nice. That's how it got approved. Then SB 79 rears its ugly head again after the fires, and in a quiet, closed door, like very poorly advertised, mail the flyers out to all the burned down houses meeting, okay, where no one can come to it because no one knows anything about it. On October the 8th in Redondo Beach at the Coastal Commission, they approved the damn thing, but they
Must be a fucking coincidence, isn't it?
They add a transit district. They sneak it in. So now the Palisades in our local, and by the way, this is all residential, this area. We now have this big giant bus stop going right in front of this beautiful development for the sake of jamming SB 79 in the Palisades.
So they weren't allowed to build 9-story apartment buildings in the Palisades because it's mostly single family dwellings, right?
Correct.
And that's what made it a desirable, just like Altadena. It made it desirable because it was a beautiful single family dwelling neighborhood.
Correct.
And now what we warned was what they're going to do is they're going to put high density housing in there, meaning 9-story apartment buildings.
That's right.
That wrecks the integrity of a neighborhood.
This is a developer's, like a big developer, incredible dream. You own residential property and that goes up in value 10x and you can just pack it full of multifamily.
Right, exactly. And so now they have this beautiful new structure going up and Frank Gehry has designed it and everybody approves it who lives in the neighborhood because it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be an improvement. And now they snuck in, they're going to put this bus terminal right in front of it.
You got to go to the bus terminal before you get to the restaurant. Yeah.
You got to go through a bus terminal.
Yeah. Right there at Sunset PCH, one of the most beautiful pieces of property on the Gold Coast.
And the reason why they're sticking that bus terminal there so they can fulfill the requirements of SB 79.
It's a money grab, baby.
Which means that they can stick those high-rise apartment buildings there.
Yep.
Because they need to have a bus terminal there.
Yep.
So now they put it in there.
Exactly.
But nobody okayed this, right?
It's worse than that. You had to mail a notice about the meeting to all the burned down houses.
So they had a meeting about it. They mailed the notices, but all the houses are burned down, so nobody knows about this.
It's like
so
voting.
Nobody can show up to complain about it. So they just ram it through. It's kind of crazy, right?
It's insane. It's just literally taking advantage of people that have lost everything. Well, there's no one there. Just mail the notices out, and we'll change the rules. Well, I'm sure Frank Gehry and Wolfgang Puck are also like totally not. They just want to get their project done, and they had him over a barrel. They're like, okay, we'll approve it, but you got to let us have a bus district now at the 9th hour.
So people are up in, it's not only people in the Palisades and the people in Altadena, which this seems directly aimed at, but it's also people in Burbank, people in Glendale. They're against this.
It's just garbage. It's like the typical California ripping the rug. I always say they rip the rug. You're living in your house. It's zoned R1, one residence per zoned parcel, R1.
Yeah.
You buy a beautiful house. You have this little view. You worked your whole life for it. This happens. Somebody buys the lot next to you and they put a 7-story apartment building right next to your house. Right next to your house.
Right next to your house.
Yeah. You just literally and they can, if they buy more than one lot. And by the way, people can't figure out how to rebuild because there's no permit. So they have to sell because they're just broke at this point. It's 11 months in a couple days. And they can just build apartment buildings next to you. And they don't explain this. They don't explain it to anyone, not just people. They don't even explain it. I'm sure Wolfgang Puck and Frank Gehry want to build their big development that they've spent all this money on and have waited years and years to get fulfilled. To get it from the planning stage to an actual development where you can actually make money is such a long haul. That's 7 to 10 years in California. They finally get to the 1 yard line and the fires happen. So of course, they're going to be like, what do we got to do to get this done? Well, you got to put a little bus station right in the front yard. And that is what you're going to do. And we're going to do that today. We're going to approve you. Are you guys okay with that? Stamp. October 8th. Look it up.
He did it.
It's done.
It's done.
It's done. It's the beginning. It's the beginning of the land grab.
So the land grab has started.
The land grab has started.
And
all fucking coincidence. These things have to be coincidence. It burned down. And during that time, it displaced a mega black community from what we discussed months ago. I think it's like Altadena. I believe it's Altadena. The other one was Palisades, but it's another one. But either way, we're talking about black things, right? About black things. This is Gavin Newsome, the same Gavin Newsome that just kicked your teeth in about reparations. Thinkin. Not connected. Because you can't simply see how constantly what disparagement is happening. Who is going to go into that land and develop? Who is going to go into that land and develop? And what the fuck does Gavin Newsome have some say so what the fuck happens to that land, how it's rebuilt? Karen Bass, short head ass. Quiet. But this thing right here is supposed to be free. It's supposed to be about people and people having the power and decision making skills. So y'all was jacking it. I'm glad y'all was jacking it. Big salute to y'all. I'm glad y'all was jacking it early. I didn't know the end. I didn't know the end play, but when M Love and me was chopping it up, and M Love was telling me, and Tyreek brought it up too about how potent that suburban land was, just because it was super black community, and then Palisades was like prime real estate, and yeah, that's the information.
And people who say they're advocates for housing in California are cheering this on, but people like Karen Bass even is against this. The mayor, the African-American female mayor of Los Angeles.
I'm not sure she understands it.
And she's against it, but at least she's against it.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, I don't think she understands, like, I'm not sure.
But she's on your side on this, so why?
Is she?
She says she's against it.
I mean, I think that
I don't think Karen Bass is against anything, simply because when the shit was on fire, she sat there and finished her vacation, so they're running to her people and getting back on.
the bigger issue on the state side for being against it, and this would include Karen Bass and these people, and they know this. Okay, I'm not telling anybody anything new. There's no infrastructure to support it. So if you have high density and you add people,
Did we not talk about adding people to the population early on? Did we not talk about adding people to the population earlier on? How money gonna start looking real funny. I didn't even think about resources becoming scarcer because the people that's consuming them ain't enough input for the whole community to consume. Didn't even think about it. Till just
well, you also have to have better roads. You have to have like public bathrooms. You have to have more retail. You have to have traffic lights. You have to have sidewalks. We don't have any of that there. It's never been taken care of. So when you start trying to, add people, you have to add infrastructure. And if you have no money, you can't do that. And so Karen Bass knows that.
So I just can't get over the fact that, a week after, or that was actually, he signed this a week before the No Kings rallies and around the country. And here he is saying, you don't get to decide what your neighborhood looks like. Gavin Newsome and the people in Sacramento, they're going to decide what your neighborhood gets to look like.
But look, I mean, listen, Prop 50 is terrible. What I got to say, I'm going to say it over and over again until people listen. Please, people, listen. Every single thing that Gavin Newsome is proposing, say no to. There is no big, beautiful gift at the end of his rainbow reign. That king that's leaving to try to run for president, I don't know how, that guy has proposed so much bad legislation, terrible legislation. And this Prop 50 is another one.
So let's see us in Australia. Second show's added in Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane. We'll see you in Burbank.
Yo, pound for pound. This is the world I live in. I swear it down. I have no joy in it. But sometimes we have to just get drunk on reality. That's it. Sometimes we have to get drunk on reality and stop thinking that these things are one-off things and 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 one-off things. But then when you saw all that shit as one-off, you want to be quick to make a generalization. It don't make sense though. Let's blast you to the last topic, bro. 10 seconds. Spinny. Back at it, dog. I appreciate all the information y'all kicked out because that shit is dope. Appreciate all the support. Appreciate all the information. Appreciate all the conversation. Y'all know how we get down. From the crown to the ground. You already know. Quick spin it. Spin that. And now closing out tonight, bro. We about to talk about something that's personal to you, to everybody. All right. Very, 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 very personal. And every time you go to the doctor, they ask you about how many hours do you sleep, what's your habits, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm about to give you the explanation why these things become conversation points when you go to the doctor, right? You're like, yo, when I was a couple years ago, I don't remember having these conversations, but you're having them now, right? It's not because this is new. But now it's being what you call siphoned. A lot of information being drugged out of this. Because these things tend to affect things. And when you look at this news, you look at post-COVID world that we live in. They always want to ask you about your psychological. It's post-COVID. I think I'll get into that in a later show. Not too far from now. But I got like 3 shows lined up. I'm still trying to build. But let's take a look at this shit right here and why sometimes we behave the way we behave. And comprehend that as much as you have an influence on it in your pattern, in your daily pattern, in your daily patterns, there's another external force that is so external it becomes internal. And by that statement, you comprehend. Run it.
Hello friends, in this video we'll be discussing about a biological rhythm called circadian rhythms.
Circadian.
If we get into the meanings of these words, circadian means approximately day, and rhythm, as we all know, is the regular repeated pattern of something. So first of all, we see circadian rhythms are 24-hour cyclic rhythms found in animals that synchronizes with presence and absence of light, and the light is mostly the solar light. Second point we see here is the internal
24-hour cycle rhythm found in animals that synchronizes with the presence and absence of light. Sun.
Biological clock, what we call as endogenous clock. These circadian rhythms affect the overall behavior and developmental functions of an animal. But the 3 functions are getting more involved in these rhythms, and these include eating, sleeping, and mating of an animal. Now let's see which oscillations are eligible to call the circadian rhythms. First of all, oscillations should be endogenous and intraenable. Let's discuss the endogenous part first. Endogenous means inbuilt. These oscillations should be inbuilt within an organism. And these oscillations should be self-sustainable. And oscillation should be of 24 hours to be.
Is this speeding back? This is not
called as circuit.
Oscillation. Motion. Right? If I'm not mistaken, endogenous is just not.
Circadian rhythm.
Built-in, self-sustainable, 24-hour oscillation. Meaning it's cycle. So it lives in a cycle. It's like you have a fan. And when you look in the back of the fan, it has those buttons 0, 1, 2, and 3. That's the power of the thing. And you have the one button that says oscillate. That means spin, right? That means cycle through. That can.
On the other hand, we see oscillation should be internable also, which means it should be adjusted and can be reset. And these circadian rhythms are adjusted with external cues from environment called Zeitgeber, which means time giver in German. A light and temperature can act as a Zeitgeber to reset the circadian rhythms when they are disturbed. We have been talking about circadian rhythms, a biological clock, and this clock is named as circadian clock, a mammalian biological clock present inside our body that reminds us what to do at what time. It synchronizes your body at day and night with different functions. It will remain an oscillating body until your body does not lose the homeostasis. So what actually the circadian clock is? It's a molecular mechanism that lies within our hypothalamus, present in our brain. In hypothalamus, we have a bunch of neurons in it called suprachiasmatic nucleus, or simply nuclei, SCN. The SCN receives inputs from optic nerve connected to an eye, and in turn, and finally, the SCN will give the output in the form of hormones via endocrine system. We know that hypothalamus is a link between brain and endocrine system. So here the natural light acts as a signal molecule and signals via optic nerve to SCN. And we are given different functions at different times with the aid of endocrine system.
When you went to school, they taught this to you, but they never called it this term. They called it time. And they ask you certain questions specifically to see at what time were you the most brain functioning in the highest capacity. And they told you at that time, take the hardest classes instead of taking the harder classes when you was at a lower form of functioning. Most likely, the most highest functioning part of somebody that's dealing with sunlight would be after rest, after waking up. So you rest, you wake up, you start your day. You should be firing off on your higher cylinder. So that's when you would naturally want to take the harder courses. And later on in the day, like after lunchtime, 8, you're more relaxed. That's when you probably want to take the courses that you don't need to put full 100% driving.
But it follows a different pathway, which we are going to discuss later on, what the pathway of SCN is. But here we see what's the input and what's the output from SCN. The circadian rhythm follows a pathway called photic neural input pathway. Here in this photic neural input pathway, the light will act as a signal molecule, and this light will be detected by our retina present in our eye. Two scenarios are there. One is the presence of light, the other being the absence of light. Along with rods and cones, we have another photoreceptor cell on retina called photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. These cells are very different than rods and cones. First of all, the photopigment in these cells is melanopsin. The other difference being here is that rods and cones hyperpolarize by the presence of light, while as these retinal ganglion cells depolarize on the presence of light. That's the main difference between these rods and cones and these retinal ganglion cells. This melanopsin photoreceptor pigment will signal the presence or absence of light by absorbing the light via optic nerve, and this optic nerve will follow the RST pathway, that's the retinohypothalamic tract, which connects with SCN, the core of the clock. Thereafter, the SCN will relay output signals via PVN and SCG, that's paraventricular nucleus and superior cervical ganglia. And finally, the message will be delivered to the target endocrine gland. like pineal gland, which will be made to secrete or inhibit the production of melatonin.
In the presence of light, pretty much, you receive light, not just on the skin. Eyeballs receive. Your eyeballs receive light. Simple. We know sunlight is vitamin D. So the chemical process, that's a cellular chemical process, takes place. All this shit, all this is cellular. This is all cellular shit. When it comes to here, when you talk about the pineal gland, the conversation of the pineal gland has always been an important thing. It's a major regulator of the human body in itself. And if you see where the pineal gland sits inside the body, you could comprehend exactly why it is so important and how it has this great effect over the whole body. When they talk about the pineal gland producing these chemicals inside the body, like he just mentioned, the melatonin, which makes you ease into rest periods. If you backtrack it, then you could say absence of light, well then the pineal gland, through the optical nerves, the eyeballs, through the eyeballs, the brain comprehends the absence of light. So then the pineal gland activates the melatonin. In the presence of light, through the optic nerve, the pineal gland activates non-melatonin. So you tend to be awake. This is the human body living in a cycle based on the sun. And we say the moon because 1 and 1, right? There's sunlight and then there's moonlight.
If there is presence of light, there will be inhibition of melatonin secretion. But if there is absence of light, that's in the dark, that's in the night, the melatonin will be secreted because there is hyperpolarization of ganglia cells. So this is all about the circadian rhythms. Its molecular mechanism will be followed in the next week.
Easy fucking, right? I've been looking at this for a long time. There's another cycle that we go through also. I'm going to bring that cycle into play because we not only are affected by the sunlight, and we equate sun and moon to time. But look at what the fuck we just went through, and this is why I was already ready to roll out tonight, but I said, you know what, I have to drop this one tonight simply because we just went through the 1 hour switch over, right? So now you get 1 hour less of daylight. So now it gets darker earlier. Halloween starts getting dark. That's how I track it. To me, honestly, I track it by Halloween. It's gonna start getting darker earlier. So there's not just what they call circadian rhythm. There's a diurnal rhythm also. I'm gonna drop the diurnal rhythm soon. When I drop that one, I'll probably bring them both back, and we could bounce them back and forth, right, to see how they both work. They work at the same time. Don't get it twisted. Do not get it twisted. They're not separate like that. But comprehend that we are different species on the planet. We're not all the same species. We don't got the same DNA patterns or the same cellular formats. Like our cellular formats are different. So if you want to go ahead and jump ahead of the game, look up diurnal pattern, I just showed you circadian rhythms, right? So you go look at diurnal rhythms, diurnal, URANAL, diurnal. You look at the diurnal rhythms, and you can see how we are affected, not only internally. It's like what we talk about, nature versus nurture. Those things still exist to a different. They exist in something that's above your mama and your daddy going to the bedroom having a good time 9 months, especially, and you coming out, right? There's another rhythm in the universe. That's it. Yo, peace, love, power, prosperity. Y'all know it's a love thing every time I touch the red button. This is FDNHT. This is Trin. He and I is him, Slim Trim, and I'm built to win. This is Granny, baby. Numero uno. The real McCoy. I am Flacco birthday. I'm numero. And I'm Granny's baby. Which one I'm missing? Flacco birthday, Granny's baby, numero uno. Real McCoy. I think I had them all. Take care of yourself. You can take it to people that's around you. Love yourself. You love the people that's around you. What I'm about to do right now is bake me some fish. Maybe some rice with it. Maybe some noodles. I'm not sure yet. So I'm gonna go cook me some food real quick. Real quick. Big shout out to the fucking the ninjas. Big shout out to everybody hitting the button. Y'all know it's a love thing. Pound for pound, dog. We gonna have fun, but you know what? We also gonna sit here. We're gonna talk about some things that can make us better and comprehend life and get us down the road for longevity. That's just what the fuck. That's just what the fuck. Y'all know I like to have fun. Y'all know I'm wicked crazy when it comes to having fun. You heard me? We getting down pound for pound from the crown to the ground. You know how it gets down. Ladies, you already know. I'm glad you pulled up in here tonight to have a good time. You kicked up your feet. You had some wine. You relaxed it here. You realized everybody in here was friends and family, and everybody was cool, chilling, and living a life of calamity. Generals, shots and bears are on the table, dog. Y'all already know, love yourself so you can love the people that surround you. Take care of yourself so you can take the people that surround you. Remember, this thing that we do in life is not a sprint. This thing is a motherfucking marathon. So train every day. Like the marathon that's tomorrow. Yo!